Hey guys, it's Simply Imaginary People Frankie, and I was asked to make a tutorial on accessories. So, making accessories, it really depends how you mesh it. I'm not gonna show you how to mesh it. You can do this in MD or in some Blender program or whatever. I'm just gonna show you how to get it into game. So, for the purpose of tutorial, I made this scrunchy head bow thing, and yes, as you can see, if it's an accessory, it already has to fit the body. So obviously this head bit already fits the head. If you want to make an iPhone, it needs to be on their hand. If you want to make a necklace, it needs to be around their neck, the way you want it to be. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to UV map this. So import your mesh into Blender, file, import wavefront object, or if you made it in Blender or whatever. And you can see mine is already UV mapped. If you made an object, then you might want to watch my tutorial on quick and dirty UV mapping, and if you did it in Marvelous Designer, then obviously you already have a UV map. Now, what you can do with accessories is you can use this entire square of space here, which is awesome. So all I usually do is you can select A in the UV window, ignore the fact I have a background, and you can go to here, Pack Island. And usually, if it's a smart thing, it'll fill the space up. So I undo rotate because otherwise it rotates parts of my UV and I don't want that. So make sure your UVs are all the same. So I want the bow to be one color, so I want all the bow pieces to have the same orientation, otherwise my pattern is going to go haywire. And I'm going to check to make sure they are, so I can press L here, and that'll only highlight my bow part. Ignore this, I don't know what happened. It's because I edited some mesh. Yeah, so this is the left part, and this is the right part. So this isn't really going to work for me, because if I have a texture, it's going to go from here to there, so it's going to go from left to right, which is a bit silly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn off sync, and I'm going to Shift L all these parts, and I'm just going to press R and 90 degrees. I want my bits rotated in this direction. There we go. And I also want this, which is the scrunchy part, also in the same direction, so that my pattern goes from top to bottom and not from left to right. So yeah. Also these parts, just going to check out. See, this is the bottom, and I'm guessing that means this area is the top part, which is silly. So I'm going to L select that and rotate 90 degrees. And rotate 90 degrees again. So all I'm doing to rotate is pressing R and then 90, so that it rotates 90 degrees. So that means now, if I turn on sync, top part is at the top, and bottom part is at the bottom. Good. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to press A, and I'm going to say UVs, Pack Island. I'm going to make sure rotate is off, because I don't want it to turn it different than I already had it. Right, so now I've got them all in here, and they have the correct size. My issue is I want to recolor this at some point. Well, make it recolorable. So I want this part to be recolorable, the scrunchie and the bow. So if I press L, it'll highlight all the bits that belong to this part. That's good. They're all together. But I'm just going to move them into the corner so that I can easily make a mask later. And then I'm going to highlight the bow. So that's all these weird pieces here. And that means all I'm missing is the scrunchie. So I want undo sync because it's messing around again. This part I want to be up here closer to the other scrunchy part, and this part I want to be further down. You shouldn't have any of these weird spiky bits. I don't actually know what this is. it's because I edited a 3D mesh from the internet to make the bow part, and I just generally ignore these bits and stick them somewhere because they're actually not visible. Right, so that means I now have my areas. This will be one color, this will be the next color, and this will be the third color. So that's pretty much how I UV map. The bigger you make your VMap, the better. Just make sure it has the correct orientation. Right, also poly count. So here my vert count is 4,000, good. I will try and stick under 6,500, and my faces are 5,000, which is way under what I need. I think that makes it like a very low poly count. So I'm not quite sure how the faces relate to poly count in Blender. We can see that later, but yeah, I wouldn't try and go too high here. But mainly the issue is verts. Right, so now that I've UV mapped this, I'm going to export it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to say File, Export to Wavefront Object. If you are like me and you like to import other things into Blender to have a nice model, then go to Export Wavefront Object and click Selection Only so that it only exports that. I'm going to call this Scratch. Right, now all you're going to do is you're going to load Milkshape. And while you're at that, you might as well load TSR Workshop because it takes a while. The old version, like always. My computer doesn't like running so many programs. Right. I'm just going to go. So import your mesh. Delete materials. Name it group 0, like you should. And then all you're going to do is you're going to go to TSRW and you're going to import a package that is similar to yours. So this is a headband, so I'm going to import an already working headband. If it's something for the head or glasses, then make sure you import one that also works for sliders. So I am just going to use for this headband my previously made headband, if I find it. You know, be helpful to actually save these things. Okay, headband, or I'm just going to use a hat because I want this to work with hat sliders. And export this as a .wazoo. I just call it ref. Right, now what you can do is you're going to import, this is a TSRW object, ref. Okay. Doesn't matter, but you can see here now I've got both of them here. And the bottom one is the reference. So if I turn on bone colors, you can see this one's green and this one has no bone colors. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click select and select the one that has bone colors, and I'm going to say show. And you'll see that it is completely assigned hat grip. Now, what you assign bone to is pretty dependent on what you want it to move like. So if you want a hat to be hat slider compatible, the whole thing needs to be assigned to hat grip. If you want glasses to be glasses compatible, there are 2 sliders that do that. Oh, well, there's 2 bones for glasses. I usually use only one, which will change the size of the whole glasses. Then there's the other method where you have the glasses and the bits that go over your ears, I don't know what you call them, as a different bone, and that means that you can only change the size and orientation of the bits that go over the ears and not the actual glasses. So you're just going to have to check out how an in-game object already moves and check out the bones of that. If you make a coat, you need to assign bones like you would for a normal bit of clothing. If you're making a necklace, it depends on how big the necklace is. If you think about it, if you assign a necklace completely to the neck bone, then if the Sims turns their head, the whole necklace will turn, which is fine if you're making a choker. If you're making a super long necklace that hangs down to their belly button, then they turn their head and it's not going to be on their belly button, it's going to be sticking to their arm. So then you might want to assign bones again like you would with clothes. But generally, most accessories are small things, so if it's an earring, you assign it to ear. If it's a headband, you assign it to head. If it's a choker, you assign it to neck. If it's an iPhone in their hand, then you need to assign it only to the hand bone. So don't assign it to any finger bones. So if you see, got all your bones here. You've got right hand. You need to assign it to right hand if it's in their right hand, and completely to left hand if it's in their left hand. Don't assign it the way you assign it with clothes, because otherwise it will get finger assignments and it will stretch depending on how they move their fingers. So accessories, you really need to consider how you want it to move. General rule is you don't want something to stretch much, you assign it to one bone. But obviously if you assign it to one bone, then it's only going to move with that bone. So yeah, I can't really give you a tutorial on what to assign to what. You can ask me if you want help. But yes, so all I'm going to do is I'm going to assign my bow to hat grip because I want it to work with sliders. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my group, select, so that's red, go to joints, it's already in here, 100%, assign. Now it's also green. And then I'm going to delete my reference. I'm going to export this to TSR object, and I'm going to call it scrunch1. Right, that makes bone assignment easier. Now, you'll see some of the accessories have very high level of detail, and medium level of detail. Very high and high are like what it will look like in your graphics settings. I usually use the same mesh for that. But if you want to do it properly, you'll need a mesh for medium level of detail. So usually all you do is you go to Tools, DirectX Mesh Tools, drag this down a good bit, like halve it, and then go to Face, Smooth All. You'll see it's gone white again, so you need to re-import your reference, select, show the joints, select yours, assign the joints, and delete the reference, and then again file export TSR object, and then I call this scrunch. I usually just call it mod. Right, that is the easy part. Going back to Blender, I'm going to go to Image, New Image, and bake a UV map. In the wrong one, here we go. Turn on ambient occlusion under this little sign, ambient occlusion, environmental lighting, indirect lighting, and put samples up to 20. I'm going to expect that people who are making accessories might have watched my clothing tutorial, so I'm not going into so much detail. And then under the little camera, go to bake, change this to ambient occlusion, margin to pixels like you do with clothes, and press bake. And give it some time, because the more samples you have, the smoother the bake, the longer it takes. In the meantime, you can open Photoshop, because you'll need to make the multiplier. This is going to take a while, as you can see. It doesn't usually take this long. Right, while I'm doing that, I'm going to open a pattern that I want to overlay. And you're pretty much just going to make the multiplier the way you want. The way you usually do with clothes. Okay, so it's finished. That looks kind of cool. Don't know why it's doing that. Okay, so I'm just going to image, save its image, and save it as scrunch. And open my bake. There we go. And what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to go to filter, noise, reduce noise. This just makes this top bit, the scrunchy bit, tiny bit smoother. Do that twice. And overlay my slightly soft texture. Right. As this bit is a good bit smaller in ratio, I'm just going to make that smaller, and then I'm going to say edit, fill, content aware. It's being an ass. And then go to this layer. And this is sometimes a very easy way of getting a pattern. Kind of cheating way too. Righty-ho. I'm just going to leave this part now because I do a lot of things for my multiplies. But yeah, you need to do the same thing you usually do. So this is 142, so you need to make it a bit darker. Need to get to 138, 133 was too dark. Four, 35, 138. I guess that'll do. Yeah. Image size 2048. Correct. That's the size I wanted. I don't know if I actually did that. But yeah, make the size 2048. That's what I usually like. 2K textures. Yeah. And when you've got it the right gray, just save this as a DDS file. Obviously, you can do whatever you want, overlay textures, make your own multiplier. I'm not going to teach you that because that's just the general stuff that you'll see in my other tutorials. You need to make a mask as well. I don't bother making specular or normal maps for this stuff because I'm too lazy, but you can. Right. FF. Oops. And just going to make a mask to color the bits that I want. Right, and again, usually I make my mask smaller because they don't have much detail, so I don't need a big picture. And call that whatever you want to. Right, now what you're going to do is you'll still have the correct file type open in TSRW. I'm just going to, over a very high level of detail, I'm just going to import Scrunch. There we go. And high level of detail, I'm going to also insert Scrunch. Sometimes you'll just have high, medium, and low. If you have high, medium, low, you import the base one into high, you make a LOD1, and then you do the whole thing again. So you go to DirectX Mesh Tools and halve it again, save it, assign bones, and import that one into low. Right, then I'm going to go into Diffuse Map and import my Scrunch. Yes. I'm going to go into Normal Map and I am going to import the base normal map that's empty, and under Specular I import a base black picture. Done. There you go, you can see it's now stripy. Under Texture I'm going to import my mask. There we go, see the colouring works now. And if you opened a clean file that someone did properly, your multiplier should already have your new multiplier in it because the person didn't import their images twice. All I'm going to do is I'm going to... If that happens, okay, it's decided to say no. Usually you can still export to Sims 3 pack and save it, but sometimes it just doesn't like you. My computer's being very slow today. You obviously need to make sure you're working with a base that's already an accessory, because if not, then you're going to have issues. The closer your reference is to what you're actually making, the easier it is. Right. Okay, open a different one, but it doesn't matter. Import Scrunch. Now you'll see this one has high, medium, low, and not high, very high. So, medium, I'll input the medium one, and for low, I will make a low one. So I usually go super low for low. Yay. Just select the reference, then select your own, delete the reference. How many LODs you have depends which reference you opened in TSRW. Right, for low, I'll then import low. Gotta love the low toddlers. Go back to high. And do it all again because I hate to. So you'll see I imported it into this one. And if I now look at this one, it already has my multiplier in it. That's because my files are not doubly imported images, which I also have a tutorial on how to not do and how to fix. Right, you'll see my multiplier is also in here already. I'm just going to import my mask. And go to 3 channels because I only have 3. Specular's already... Specular's one I actually made, so I'm just going to import a base one. There we go. Right, now what you can do is you can choose patterns. So hell, I'll just use this one because it's cute. There we go. For the second one, I'm just going to copy that colour. I don't know if there's an easy way to copy this colour. Can I copy that? Or I'm just going to have to fake it. Okay, well. There we go. And I'm going to choose pattern here as well. Right, now you'll see the white dots on here are huge and the white dots on here are tiny. This has to do with the fact that on my multiply you can see the bow bits are huge and the scrunchy bit is tiny because it needs to fit on. So all I'm going to do to fix that is I'm going to go to this one, and instead of 4, 4, I'm going to use maybe 7, 7. You'll see the dots got a lot smaller. I think I'm going to go with 9, 9. That's a nice size. And this one is 9, 9, which is way too big, so I'm going to go with maybe 4, 4. Kind of get the dots the same size. Righto, that's a really ugly colour. There we go. Make sure under recolors you don't have any wrong recolors, so delete that one. Oh, freaking hates me. Right. If it crashes, scrunch. The best thing is to export it. While that's loading, I'm also going to show you, because I was asked to make necklaces. I also made a bow tie. So we literally do exactly the same thing. You VMap it the way you want it. Make sure these are all the right way around. Okay, they are. And make sure these are, which they are not again. Do the same thing, UVs, pack islands, make sure rotate isn't ticked. There we go. Going to move this part over the corner and make sure sync is off, otherwise you can't bake. And also bake that UV map. Right. Let's continue with this scrunchy bow. Really doesn't like doing a couple of things at once. Right, so all you're going to do now is make sure that it has the right name. There we go. Toddler, only female. Type should be accessory, otherwise you import it into the wrong reference file. You can pick if you want it to be under glasses, earrings, nose, I usually don't mind. Then you've got everyday, formal, sleep, athletic, outwear. Get rid of that. Right, perfect. Textures, make sure you don't have any old textures from whatever you were working off of. And then the only thing you need to do is go to edit project contents. And don't ask me why hat things always flip to the side. And press renumber second instance, make random, press no, no. Do this before you do the next step, because otherwise it'll go wrong. You'll see that they all have a new number. This is just so that it doesn't overlap the old object that you were working off of. Plus, it's just a smart idea to have it all the same number. Now, accessories, you know, sometimes have like shitty preview pictures. So if you're going to go to part highlighting and you're going to go to cast thumbnail, and what you need is a preview picture, and you're going to make it 256. So it needs to be square, 256 by 256. And you're going to save as PNG, and you're just going to save it wherever. And then here, you're just going to go to here and import your screenshot now that it has a thumbnail, which is a good idea. And I really don't like these colors, so just ignore me. Make this whole thing grey. So that it fits the thumbnail picture. Okay, now you're done. So literally the only thing different to clothing is bones and the reference thing you import it in as. Scrunch. If you know me, you know that I'm insanely picky about cleanliness of package files. So I am going to open it and make sure it only has the correct image files. See, this is an old image file. I deleted that texture, so delete that. And I also deleted that one, so delete that. And then, of course, when it says through mystery artsy. Right, you're done. Back to our bow tie. This is going to be my necklace because I don't have a necklace, so I'm using a bow tie. But it's the same principle. Again, save as image. I'm going to name this tie. And again, export selection only if you have multiple things. And you're going to do the same thing. You're going to import here, delete all materials. Now, as I said, you need to assign this to a fitting bone. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to import this is a toddler body, and as you can see, the toddler body has all its bones. Now, I want this bow to literally stay attached to the bit it is now. So if I hide my bow, name it group 0 first. If I hide my bow, I want it assigned pretty much to the same bone as this one. So I'm going to check out my bones. Just go to select this one, and I'm going to say, okay, this one's assigned to spine. This one is assigned to spine and clavicle. I don't really want it assigned to anything neck because it will twist with the neck. And it might actually be a better idea to assign it to spine because clavicle is left and right, so that means the shoulders move, this might move a bit, and I don't really want it to. So let's go with spine 1 and spine 2. Again, select a thing and say assign. Now, if you do that, it should all have the same color. This is very important. If it's different colors, as I said, it'll stretch. Obviously, if it's a necklace, you might want it to stretch if they turn their head so that the bottom of the necklace doesn't move, but again, this is kind of just like you need to think about it. I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to export this as a TSRW object again. Name it tie. Right, and then I'm going to do the same thing. Tools, DirectX Mesh Tools. Go down a bit. Face is smooth all. To make my life easier, I'll import the actual tie. There we go. File, export, TSRW object, tie, blood, and do the whole thing again. Show, sign. Right, there we go, and tie lod. Two. Same thing as here. I'm going to go to image size 2048. I'm going to do the same thing, but only once because it's pretty smooth anyway. And then make sure I've got the right colors. This one seems to be too dark. Not that much. So, yep, 138, perfect. Save as DDS. Tie. And do the same thing, make the recolorable channels. So make that smaller again. To reload TSRW because it's probably going to complain again. So just to make this explanation, if I would have assigned, like, I'll show you what would happen. I'm going to assign this tie the way you would assign clothes. So I'm just going to take, I don't know if it'll do it because it's quite a small mesh. Just name this test. Right, you'll see it's kind of got like rainbow colors near the top. So I'll show you what happens. Why small things should only ever be assigned to one bone. Things like buttons. Buttons should only ever be assigned to one bone. If you assign them to multiple bones, your button will stretch. Let us import our mesh, and we'll just import the high one so I can show you what I mean. Okay, so accessories are always somehow to the left, which means I can't really show you very well what the issue is. But if you think about it, this part is assigned kind of to clavicles. So if the person, toddler, moves their shoulders, only this part, so the top part of the bow, will move with the shoulders and the rest will stick with the body, which means this will stretch over to this direction should the toddler move to the right, which is why it'll stretch weirdly if it's not assigned the same bone. If it's assigned the same bone, every single vert will move the same way, and in that way it'll never stretch. So you can't see it here, which is super annoying, but yes. Import tie. Don't need to do that one because it will be directly replaced. There's the tie. Import the mask. Tie. Now it only has 2 channels, so I'm going to turn off the 3rd channel. Right. I think I'm going to make it black because, you know, ties aren't usually white. There we go. And again, change the name. Simply bow tie. This I want to enable for males. No, I don't need that reloaded. And then I'm literally going to do the same thing. Oop. Need to input the other levels of detail. Right. Renumber it again. Always renumber before you import the thumbnail, otherwise it'll mess up. Don't ask me why. I have a preview of this one as well, so I'm just going to go to image size 256. And again, save it. You'll see every time you open it in CAS, it throws out the previous thumbnail, which is annoying. But yeah. Okay, so that is pretty much how you make an accessory. The only differences are, 1, use the whole UV map space, 2, think about bones a bit more, and 3, when you're importing it to TSRW, open a reference mesh that is the same. So open an accessory, do not open a bit of clothing, otherwise you're going to have issues. And that is pretty much all you need to know. And that it's perfectly fine that it's never in the right position, because that just happens with accessories, God knows why. I guess the TSRW just has issues with that. Okay, I'll finish up these to my liking and then upload them as well. Hope that helped whoever asked.